we live? There we go. All right. Hello, community, creatives, kind folks out there. This is RPG with DBJ, and we end the week with Doctor Strange. We are, to give you an example of what we're doing here, if this is your first time seeing one of these videos, we are taking a deep dive into each of the characters from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, some of our favorites, some others that it might not be our favorites, and taking from it what we can steal for our own role-playing games, our settings, our own table and whatnot. Of course, we are heading towards Avengers Endgame. I've got my tickets, woohoo! And we're also ending towards the last season of Game of Thrones. So each week, next week, we will be going over Game of Thrones characters and what we can steal from that. But we're ending this week with Doctor Strange. So what can we steal from Doctor Strange? Well, if you're into Dungeons and Dragons, any kind of like medieval gaming or such, Doctor Strange pretty much fits in with that, right? The idea of this person who's a master of the mystic arts fits right on in. But we have to do a little summary of who the hell Doctor Strange is in the first place if you've never read the comics and you're not really interested in the movies. First, Tesla Ranger, hey, what's going on? He said, they really should put the warnings before this spell. Yeah. Yeah, there's a little bit of a of a little tongue-in-cheekness with Doctor Strange and Wong and others. Okay, so who and what and what encompasses Doctor Strange? Well, Doctor Strange, strangely, wow, is very much a character like Tony Stark, both in appearance and somewhat of background. I'm sure at the time they didn't think about this, or maybe they did think about it and was like, well, we'll just reskin this one person into the other. So Doctor Strange, yes, that is his name. He is a medical doctor and the best in his field. So good, in fact, that he carries with him quite a bit of arrogance as a man of science and such. In a sense, being so successful that he only wants to take on the most bizarre or dangerous or noteworthy surgeries that he knows that he can cure, even ones that he knows are beneath him, or maybe there's no possibility of saving that individual. He kind of casts them aside. So of course we get to see his arrogance. We get to see how he treats his coworkers and even the love interests of his life, that you know, the words that come out of his mouth, he probably needs a backhand across the face. Well, his arrogance leads to his eventual downfall, as he basically is in the movie a victim of his own distracted driving while trying to find yet one more surgery that will put his name on a map or allow him to write some kind of dissertation or what have you amongst the medical community. And in that accident, his hands, the things that make him who he is, get crushed beyond repair into the dashboard of the car. And so this is the inciting event that changes his life. Like most superheroes or characters thereof, there's an inciting event. This event that flips their world around and makes them puts them on a path of discovery of this new individual, this new part of their life. So he can't get his hands back. So of course he cannot perform surgeries. Now, yes, I know that the rest of us are thinking, dude, you could teach or go on lectures or write books. You don't really need your hands to do any of that stuff. But, you know, he's an a-hole, right? So he, anyone and everyone he thinks is below him. So when he has these surgeries, he thinks no one else, they're all failures. They can't get his hands back. And so over and over again, he's got these scars through his hands. And eventually he starts running out of money. he runs out of friends, and then out of those friends he starts running out of colleagues, and out of those colleagues he starts he's starting to burn bridges with just individuals in his own field of study who really don't want to have anything to do with them and are all telling him what he would tell other people. There's no way to get your hands back. There's no surgery to do it, and you've already had too much scar tissue and whatnot. So he starts going towards alternative medicines, the acupunctures and the meditations and the aromatherapies and all of those things. And even that's not working. And of course, as a man of science, he's like, I mean, yeah, maybe it might work for me, but I'm desperate here. But there's nothing really into these Eastern medicines. But he ends up discovering that there is someone who, had a complete paralysis who can now walk, and he meets that individual, and that individual says, "Listen, I can put you on a path, but you're going to have to be the one to embrace it." So he takes the last of his money and decides to travel the world and go to the Far East from the United States, and for him it's the Far East, and goes to a place where he ends up stumbling upon, yes, the location of magic. Was it in Tibet? I couldn't remember whether it was like Tibet or the Himalayas, or because I'm mixing, my mind is mixing this with Iron Fist. Thank you, Dead Man. See, there we go. We're on the same page there, you and I. So Dead Man, sit back. I better tell this dude because he doesn't know anything. Oh, anyway, so he goes to Tibet, and of course, after a couple of fits and starts, he does find the location of these individuals who are masters of the mystic arts, and ends up being brought inside and shown, that the world isn't what he thinks it is, and that it is vastly this huge, vast tapestry of other dimensions and magic, and that anything and everything that you can imagine is real. And it blows his mind open, and he's just like, like, show me. Really? This isn't real. And so, of course, you go through the whole kaleidoscope of all these different dimensions that his mind is thrown through. He comes back to Earth, and he's just like, please teach me. And they're like, nah, that's all right. It kicks his ass to the curb. So Tesla Ranger says, Kathmandu, Nepal. Was that it? And I cannot remember the specific name of the temple that he goes to. And it does have a name. Yeah. Harry, what's going on there? Thanks for the thumb. I appreciate it. Zev says, I'm glad I'm not the only one who gets Iron Fist vibes when discussing backstory. Yeah, you know what? And let's be honest. When these stories were created, they were created probably separately, kind of in a vacuum, different people sitting at tables. And I can imagine Stanley, if he was the editor at the time, standing over different people. He's like, no, make it more exotic, And then over time, the writers of these stories were like, wait a minute, why wouldn't we just put like Doctor Strange and like Iron Fist and these other people called together in the same, merging them into the same kinds of worlds, as opposed to all of them being quite separate, although they live in the same neighborhood. You know what I mean? Tesla Ranger says the temple's called Kamar Taj. Okay. Yep. Yes. I couldn't remember it from either the movies or the comic book. So, of course, Doctor Strange is brought into the temple, and slowly but surely his skill in science and his ability to understand complex formula and ideas from science is allowing him to become, of course, grow to become the master of the mystic arts. So that's where we get Doctor Strange, where he's both a physician, medical doctor, and a master of the mystic arts, using that skill, and he becomes the protector of Earth. So what can we steal from him? what can we use from this character, his background, his motivations, things like that. Rick says, late for the party, but here I am. You're fine. We were just going over like who is Doctor Strange, his little background. We haven't really stepped deep into it. Um, uh, Harry says, it must be shocking to meet your character in the wild. Yeah, they come across each other and look at each other like Iron Fist is like, I'm the martial artist, not you. Yeah, but anyway, so okay, in the movie, the physical, what can we take from it? Well, the movie demonstrates Doctor Strange and the other members of the mystical community as being very, I don't know if I want to say Avatar-ish, but there is an extremely strong martial, physical bent to their display of their magical abilities. Of course, of course, that means that you have to have a movie, and we want it to be exciting, and we need it to be grounded in some kind of a physicality that we can understand. So they had to mix something that we understand, which is like martial arts, of physical fighting, with the mystic arts that you're doing, summoning weapons of which look like arcane light. Of course, they have different abilities, whether they're arcane fans or swords and blades or whips and nets and things like that. So we definitely understand what that looks like, even if it is glowing colors and whatnot. Yeah, of course, Doctor Strange is a wizard, of course. And there's nothing. I know someone's going to say, well, he's probably multi-class monk or something, but I would argue against that. Not that it's not true, but I don't believe there's a need to go down that path. The physicality shown in the movie, while we do know that the Ancient One is portrayed with a very the Ancient One is portrayed with a very older martial artist mentor kind of idea. I don't think it's really necessary. I think it's mainly a narrative flavor, especially a ton of the spells. Now, of course, we start to get ourselves some of the other things that we aren't normally used to seeing in, say, Dungeons and Dragons, such as the arcane fights in these like micro worlds where gravity can shift and they start fighting on top of, on the sides of buildings, and and they're standing sideways on the buildings, and then the architecture starts to flip and twist and grind. Even the insane spell that starts to make the city skyline of New York City flip in upon itself and turn upside down, and having city streets going upside down and going across, flipping it across the landscape, and the players, i.e., Doctor Strange and Mordo, are like trying to run away. I think for me, that part of it, I want to get into that, but that part of it I think is amazing, and I love the idea of having these conflicts, these fights that the regular population doesn't see, but it can still like harm the player characters while they're standing around having these fights, but the regular people are just like bumping into them. You could have, whether it's medieval, you could have horse and carriages and stuff, or even in a modern day, you have school buses and automobiles on a highway flipping back and forth while the player characters are trying to like fight off their adversaries, and getting slammed into or having to dodge out of the way of these vehicles, but no one else can see them. Zevran says, I always liked his martial arts styled kata to cast spells. Most people just portray spells as finger waggles. When a wizard is bound, they can't perform somatic components. That's why I always imagine that's how those spells actually go. Exactly. It's not necessarily, like you said, it's the boogity with the fingers, and maybe it's more than that. The kata, the forms, the somatic could mean any number of things in your gaming world, from anything from dance to yoga positions to the complex methods of walking. There was a book series from the 80s that I really loved called The Man Who Never Missed, and written by Steve Perry. And one of the books was called The 97 Steps. And if you could master walking the 97 steps, you could master this martial arts in this far future world. And different chunks of the 97 steps allowed, as you practice walking the 97 steps, you got to master different particular martial arts techniques, both aggressively and defensively. And magic could be done the same way, where you have to walk and move and portray your hands in different ways. And of course, we get to see the complex hand and his arms, and he's moving and stuff like that. So I absolutely positively feel like that's a thing. Zev says, "Oh God, a cleric doing downward dog position in yoga to heal. Why not? I mean, I mean, we do get this. I mean, from many cultures around the world that perform different methods to bring themselves to a higher plane of thought, whether it is using drugs and an aroma type therapy, whether you're indigenous people here in the United States, or whether like yoga and complex physical positions where you can take your arms and legs and put them, take your leg and put it behind your head or something like that, or whatever. And so of course you could absolutely embrace all that. And I would love a player character to say, hey, listen, when I perform my magic is like different types of dance. Ballet is one kind of thing and hip hop is something else, and whatever the case may be, like, yeah, different types of dance styles or something, or dance maneuvers in those styles, ballroom dance, whatnot. Petting the wild horse mane. Weird. Rickard Johansson says, always pictured magic to be like someone trying to assemble something in AR, VR, augmented reality, virtual reality, as viewed by someone who's not part of the AR VR session. Yes, I agree with you in the sense of, how we watch science fiction movies where you have the individual who's, I'm going back to Minority Report with Tom Cruise, where he's like grabbing the images and moving them, and you've got pieces and you've got this three-dimensional puzzle or weaving or something like that. And from the outside, we're just looking at the individual like, what are you doing with your hands? But for them, the person who can see the arcane tendrils or ley lines or something, they have to draw out or specifically create or twist or assemble the magic before it happens. So I absolutely agree with you there, Rickard. Vin, say what's going on. Vin says, "Yeah, I can join you." Yeah, Doctor Strange today, dude. Dead Man, the storyteller, says Cloak is going through that in the TV show in season 2. Oh, trying to probably trying to feel his way through the tendrils of magic. And Dead Man's referring to Cloak from Cloak and Dagger, from the television show. I haven't been able to watch the first episode of season 2, but yeah, I definitely going to check it out probably tonight or this weekend or something. This says breakdance earthquake. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. You're casting a magic. Like, why are you doing a head spin? And then he's like, just wait till I can create this tornado. So everyone says, I unfortunately will be leaving soon for work. Oh man, that's all right, man. It's all right. We'll be here. Rickard says, was thinking of Minority Report. Yep, that's exactly right. Vince says, did you talk about induced hallucinations already? Not exactly. Dead Man says the first 2 episodes are out. Oh, okay. I only have the on the DVR or whatever. Harry brings up shadow hunters. Yeah, induced hallucinations are a thing as well. drug-induced, meditative, that kind of thing, the out-of-body experience that he's able to do. Of course, we know that could be astral projection or some kind of ethereal, spell or whatnot. And what is great about Doctor Strange also when he casts his spells is that when we're watching the movie, the more the individuals perform the same actions, the more we go, oh, that's the spell they're doing. Like the warp doors, the dimension door, misty step teleportation doors, right? We see them put one hand out and we see them making the circle with the other hand, and we see the same colors, those sparks that are happening where someone can step through and they appear somewhere else. Each time they do that, we recognize what that spell is. And so as a player and dungeon master, and maybe even for your setting, when individuals are performing certain types of spells, we if we flavor it the exact same way each time, we can go, oh, they're about to cast magic missile, or oh, they're about to cast a mental charm spell or something. Now, of course, we might think that they're giving away. It's like, oh, you're foreshadowing this. There's no danger in it. But if you're in the middle of combat, we know that if we're fighting something or someone with magic, we know they're going to cast a spell. It doesn't hurt that much to let the players know what spell's coming at them. They still have to make all the requisite rolls to dodge out the way and make their saves and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think that Vince says, yeah, they had this trippy scene in the Doctor Strange movie via astral projection, right? When the Ancient One touches him in the forehead, slams him in the chest and shows them all those worlds. He says, yeah, they did show some classic art and weird dimensions, and that actually refers back to one of the artists for Doctor Strange, where they used to have all these trippy, weird. Maybe I should be, I should be be high when I'm reading these comic book kind of images, and a lot of that pulled from artwork, the art scene at the time in the 70s, where it was very trippy as well. So I think they also pulled from that. So I'm not an art connoisseur, but I'm sure you could find those weird art images where they are not reflective of what we see in reality. They are actually the complete opposite. Zevron says, I always imagine the Omni tool for Mass Effect, where it just looks like the player's checking an orange watch, but is actually checking a key, opening doors, selecting weapons, preparing C4. Oh yeah. Like you can even relate that to the sci-fi image where someone goes to check their arm and you see the holographic images floating above their hand or their arm or something like that, and they're selecting certain things. Even terrible movie, but had a bunch of great things in it. The Ultraviolet movie, I think, Mila Jovovich, where she's riding a motorcycle on the side of buildings, and she's like, she's got the little dimensional dials that can, make these little warp spaces to load her guns and all that kind of business. Vince says, I did read some of the newer comics from Doctor Strange. He really is strange in there. When he walks through the city and opens his third eye, suddenly there are spirits everywhere, and they influence the people by holding them back or motivating them. And why not embrace that? So when a player says, I detect magic, instead of just going, oh, the sword glows, or, oh, you see that the door is magical and it's green and it's got a lattice of magical in it. Like, really make it a tapestry with spirits and things, floating in the background and stuff like that. Like, you could really make the vision of detecting magic, making the magical realm really an actual real realm that might be dangerous or just kooky and whatnot. I'm going to bring up something in a minute after I get back into the chat. Rickard says, was rereading some Wheel of Time earlier. I hadn't read the Wheel of Time in such a long time. They have the same bit where another mage can recognize the spell as the tendrils are being woven together by by how it's being woven. Yes, I absolutely agree with that. When a player says, "Hey, I want to detect magic," maybe they recognize the signature because the signatures are the same, whether it's the danger of the spell itself or the caster or even the school or the type of magic it is. You know, charm magic might appear different than evocation style magic of being zapped by lightning or something. It could be a particular spell caster might have a very notorious method of weaving something, and even though they may see the weavings, maybe they can't break it. They know this powerful individual has a spell that just cannot be broken because the knots are tied too strongly or whatever. Vince says the scene begins when he talks to some snake people, and then it is shown that this was inside the head of a child, and Doctor Strange was going in it with astral projection. When the parents offered him pay, he simply said that they should bake a cake for their neighbor as his payment. See, I love stuff like that, and what a great way to have adventures that are like introspective versus internal rather than external. For example, a small child who has been traumatized by something, and the wizard and other player characters maybe have to dive into the horror that is in this child's mind. Now, of course, as an adult, we might go, "Oh, well, the child was just scared of the dark." But in the child's mind, this could be a massive evil fiend, right? I mean, this might be a dark dungeon. So you stealing that from Doctor Strange and having these strange and bizarre worlds, I think, is a great thing we can steal and use in our settings, as well as the fact that maybe there are enemies that have no effect on humanity, such as maybe there are like the 7 deadly sins, but they are personified. So a wizard who sees these 7 deadly sins are actually beasts and creatures and things that can affect them physically, but the average human being isn't affected by it. They're just motivated by it and pushed towards these 7 deadly sins. But as you know, Doctor Strange, you know, stepping into these half worlds, they can, you know, maybe the players have a physical confrontation with these things. Jefferson says, "I can't believe I'm not the only one to watch Ultraviolet. I thought everyone else was much smarter." I know. We'll never get those 2 hours back, will we? Vince says, "I watched Ultraviolet." Yeah. Sorry, man. Ricker says, "I have too. It had interesting stuff in it, but the movie wasn't really anything to watch." Right. Execution was terrible. It, like I said, you know, it had cool things. What was it? The tractor trailer, the 18-wheeler rolling down the street, but inside it was a extra dimensional office building kind of thing. Rickard said, "Hey, but has some inspiration to be taken from it." Deadman says Shadowrun does that. I'm assuming with the idea that there are adversaries that the PCs can confront, but the average society doesn't see them. I do like that, especially if a player character is looking at a king, and when their vision flows into the arcane realm, they see this like demon whispering in the king's ear. But of course, the average person is just like, "I don't see anything." But the player characters may have to one day confront, you know, the demon who's standing behind the king, who's got, you know, they've got their hands and deep talons over the king's shoulders, just massaging the king's shoulders and speaking foul words into the king's ear. As everyone says, quote, "Don't worry, guys, it's just the dark. Just get a little light." A monster that is basically a Balrog pit fiend, but is made of pure shadow. Yeah, exactly. Like maybe turning on the lights isn't what you really want, or whatnot. And so now I'm going to delve back into the arcane realm and what I think really fits into it. Vince says, "I stopped putting movies into categories too much. I just like stealing ideas and letting the movie stand as what it is. It is rare that I feel pissed after watching a movie." I'm the same way with you. Like, there are plenty of my favorite movies that I think, sure, was the dialogue off, or the execution, or the CGI or something, sure, right, or the editing or something, yeah. But I still enjoy those things in them. Like I brought up Ultraviolet, right? I think there's things in it that I'm like, man, I would love to see that done, or steal that for my game. So I rarely get pissed off as well. As much as I love the movies, they're movies, right? It's not brain surgery. Dead Man says the SR3 setting, especially in the player's handbook, really goes into the magic investigation. SR3. I'm not getting the reference. Dead Man, please give it to me, because I know it's Shadowrun 3. Thank you. Yeah. And magic investigation is something I think we tend not to get. Dungeons and Dragons doesn't really do a good job of pushing the investigative part of it, but there are many other things. The Dark Eye, Dresden Files, Call of Cthulhu. Like, there's plenty of other games that are far more into the investigative part of it before the big battles, as opposed to kicking the door down, going into the dungeon and fighting yet some other magical thing. Who is this? I'm going to mispronounce your name. I apologize. Gokhan Akdeniz. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Anyway, thank you for joining us. Doctor Strange is way much more English for the universe it is put in, so more European ideas can be more helpful for playing it, at least for a start. They tried to incorporate some, I think, Far Eastern flavor to it, but yes, I think you could absolutely, positively take many cultures from around the world and flavor the magic in your setting if you really want to take it. So we're just using Doctor Strange as a starting point, but it doesn't have to be the end point, right? Gokhan, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. Vince says the last time was downsizing. Watching the movie, yeah, I hear you. Downsizing, which was advertised as I Shrunk the Kids. It was some weird environmental movie. Yeah, sure was. Vince says the Gumshoe games are pretty good in investigating. Yeah, the Gumshoe games are built around the specific idea of investigating and getting clues. Ricker says we should do a talk on how to bring the investigation into D&D at some point. I absolutely agree with you. Okay, so what was it I was trying to bring up before? Well, I was bringing, me, I'm the self-appointed third pillar-ist, right? So I love that third pillar of gaming. And I really think you could go far deep into it. Yeah, Vince says just steal from Gumshoe, not the mechanics, but the concepts. Hell yeah. The hitting people over with the clue stick is a thing. Zev says in Witcher there is a shadow demon called a Hym, Hym, that possesses people that did horrible things and feel massive regret. It feeds on your guilt, causing nightmares, forcing you to hurt yourself. Oh, feeding on that pain until you shrivel up and die. Vince says the mirror dimension from Doctor Strange, and that's exactly what I was going to bring up. Okay, so imagine a world where there are no dungeons, there are no dragons. It's just it could be our modern world. It doesn't matter the time period, but the world of Doctor Strange and the player characters, kind of like the movie Inception or Flatliners or any kind of virtual reality, if you want to use technology in this. Or there could be individuals from around the world, such as people that are into meditation and such, that go into these other dimensions, these half worlds, where it's in these half worlds that they fight all of the dragons and the demons and the giants and the monsters and all those kind of things. And those aspects could be in like the dream realm. What was it? Dreamscape was a movie that did that as well, where all of the adventure takes place inside the imagination of individuals, or not necessarily, or you don't have to define it even. It could be a combination of our hopes and our dreams, but our nightmares and our fears and our anger, our regrets. And so that might be the adventure. It could, I mean, sure, it could devolve into Monster of the Week kind of thing, but the player, there was even a short-lived one-season television show here in the States about a woman, um, the app, the aperture, the apparatus, or something like that, where you can go into a there were patients that had problems, some of them psychological, some of them people went into comas, and individuals were hired to go into the minds of other people and confront their demons basically in their minds. So I could see a game setting where that's the whole purpose of it. Zevron says you can see someone is possessed by one because their shadow is that of a lanky demon with claws. Ooh. The him forces all lights in the area extinguished so it can hide. Oh, I like that. Yeah. Yeah. It felt more like the world shifts to fit the action and not the other way around. When he ran away, suddenly there are staircases. When they dueled, a platform appeared. Oh, Pocket GM, your Pocket GM. What's going on here? Psychonauts. I like that. Zev says the only way to have it leave the host is to kill the host, or for the person to trick the him, making it think it did something awful and feel regret. It leaves the original host and can be killed. And that, as an example, could just be one of a number of these demonic creatures or what have you, right? It's a reskin, right? We could take demons or giants or celestials or oozes and, take all those things. And like Vince bringing up Psychonauts and whatnot, where the and bring up the fact that the world shifts around the action. What a great way for those of us that love you and I, Vince. We love ourselves some random tables, and why not make a random table where reality shifts around the players? So, for example, instead of saying, "Hey, I'm going to make an opportunity attack when that person runs past me," maybe running away, the time and space can shift where you see your adversary is 30 feet away from you or 10 meters. It doesn't matter, right? But that space could then shift very far away or come very close, or you try to run up a set of staircases, but the staircases extends into infinity, or it becomes like an Escher painting, Escher drawing, where you're running up walls like in Inception, but the room shifts around, or you run up a set of staircases and the staircase, when you get to the top, leaves you at the bottom, or you have to go up an elevator to get to the bottom floor, or like shifting things around. Maybe instead of the classic pit trap or something, maybe instead of a pit, a wall, something opens up on the wall or the ceiling and you fall upwards instead of downwards, or gravity shifts around, or there's arcane defenses and you roll to see what kind of energy erupts from the arcane defenses, whether it's electrical or thunder damage or necrotic or acid or something like that, right? You could really go super, super bizarre with it. Matter of fact, maybe I might write a book about it. I might just do that. Yeah, and of course, Vince says that there is a game called Psychonauts, just in case you didn't know. Yeah, there is a game called Psychonauts, although I don't own the game. I've never seen it, and I've never seen it played, but I do know there's a game called Psychonauts. It's about a camp for psychic kids. That's sweet. That is really sweet. Vince says, yeah, give me more tables. Deadman says, it looks like Zevron is saying it's pronounced Hyam. That's what I was, yeah, Hyam. Although that sounds like another word. Yes, Hyam. Zev goes on to say the Hyam in Witcher was tricked by the main character, thinking he threw the Jarl's son in a roaring river, killing him. The baby was fine, but he didn't know until after. And that may be, this is where we come along, puzzle creatures, or rather alternate methods of winning a battle, right? Instead of I attack it and it attacks me and whoever lives at the end solves the situation, maybe it's more or less, it's solving the puzzle as opposed to killing the creature, whether it is distracting it, tricking it, using illusions, convincing it of something, the classic, I'm going to sign my soul over to the devil, but you do something. What did Constantine do? He also gave his soul to another demon or fiend or something and made the two fight each other. It's maybe it's not always having the whoever rolls the highest damage wins, but rather having win conditions. And if not defeating or banishing these creatures, maybe it's just a matter of live to fight another day kind of thing. Zevron, I mean, your Pocket GM says, don't know what a Doctor Strange is, but Psychonauts is my jam. Got to give my players an item that lets them astral project into someone's mind. Well, that's exactly what we're talking about, right? You don't need to know who or what Doctor Strange is. All you need to know is that he's a modern day wizard and fights the vast, infinite amount of interdimensional adversaries that are trying to attack Earth, and only him and those that he associates know that they're there, and average people don't even see them. Yeah, dead man's. Everyone says dead man's got it. Your Pocket GM says astral projecting into someone's mind would be great for changing up the setting quickly and easily. Everyone says still pronouncing it wrong, but you tried. Yeah, Hi-M. What am I saying? It's not Hi-M? Okay, all right. But yeah, your Pocket GM says astral projecting into someone's mind would be great for changing up the setting quickly and easily. Of course, and everyone's mind would be different. And you could establish the rules of what the setting is, not necessarily based on what we think reality should operate like. For example, you could be in a realm of complete darkness, and while walking through the darkness, you may feel things rubbing against you. You can't see anything in front of your face. You might feel scales or heat, or feel like there's nothing in front of your foot. You're about to fall. And sure, you may feel those things, but there's no danger. But the minute you alight something, a torch, create magical light, maybe that's where you see the greatest fears of this individual, and then that's when you get attacked. So not having light might be more productive than having light in the first place, or maybe gravity shifts uncomfortably, or I once created a dimensional realm where it's made up of nothing but 30-foot blocks of stone that are the entire realm is just made of 30-foot blocks of stone that lift, move, slide, and fall down in and amongst themselves. So it was like a giant chessboard, although it was just pretty much all the same colors. And you never knew if you stood in one of the blocks whether you would be lifted up in the air, or a block would slide across the ground and push you. You could get slammed in between a block. You could get crushed down fall into a pit, and a block could move on top of you. You could push an enemy into between two blocks when they come to slam together. Zevron says M like map, like high, Rickard Johansson says high M, not high M. Okay. we're deep diving into the mispronunciations, which I am a master of. So yeah, don't make me fumble my mispronunciations. Oh man, yes. Hi-M would be the wrong pronunciation. Then maybe they should figure out a better way of spelling it. Then, like the difference between Melee and Melee. The English language is terrible. No, we're not doing that. Everyone says, tell that to the Polish. No, well, yeah, no, they should be telling that to me, because I'm the one butchering the pronunciation, not them. Yeah. Zev says they have spelling problems up the wazoo. Yeah, Rickard says, don't say the M as standalone. I get it, guys. I get it. Relax. I am pronouncing it the way I saw it. I'm not specifically trying to mispronounce it. That's all. So Doctor Strange, guys, we're squirreling. Squirrel. Um, the other thing that we get with Doctor Strange is, if you really take a look at the movie and the setting and the way it is, that they're kind of their own short spoilers, but they're kind of they are more of their own problem than they give themselves credit for. Yeah, that says we also get Dormammu. Yeah. Okay, so in the movie Doctor Strange, everyone was trying to do the one thing that would benefit society the most, and you find out that everybody in the movie is like going down a different and divergent path, right? For example, we find out that Kalis, I can't remember his name. Yeah, Michael Madsen. Is it Michael Madsen? Anyway, Kalis, the one that wants to bring Dormammu, his whole purpose was to prevent, to basically make sure that the world, the prime material plane, if you will, was ageless, that no one would age out, that people would not have to live and die, that time would exist forever, and so was trying to summon Dormammu. The Ancient One was living forever by harnessing the power of Dormammu, so that the Ancient One would always be around to defend the earthly realm. Mads Mikkelsen, thank you, not Michael Madsen. Jeez, Mads Mikkelsen was Kalis. I believe that's Kalis. I believe it was. Your Pocket GM says the real draw of Psychonauts is that when you AP into someone's mind, you have to puzzle out their innermost thoughts and secrets, which are usually behind traps and monsters of their imagination. And that's the whole point, right? Where you have this, you can make a complex layer of interactions with things, while we can absolutely break the idea of gravity's always down and there's only 24 hours in the day. And, I mean, why not play with those things? You ever remember Caecilius? Was that his name? Was that how it was pronounced? I couldn't remember. Kalis is another character. Caecilius, is that Tesla Ranger? I think it was it. Kalis was another character from another IP, and I can't remember why I'm remembering it that way. But remember when we were kids and something would be far away, and we take our fingers and we go like crush, 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 because we think they were small. Imagine a world where if you do that, you actually grab that thing from far away, but now it's really tiny in your fingertips. You know what I mean? Kalis was a Klingon. Thank you. Jeez. Yeah. Oh man. Oh, Kalis from Star Trek. Yeah, Star Trek Klingon. Thank you. I knew I remembered it from somewhere, but I was like, wait a minute, what the hell? That's what happens when you're old and you're old and geeky. All your geeky stuff all your geeky toys, you put them together in the same toy chest and you just start pulling them out. Vince says he was pretty weird. What did he expect would happen to him if Dormammu wins? Yeah, to be honest, you know what? I'm with you, Vince. Like, Caecilius is like trying to summon Dormammu and thought something good would come of it. But listen, we all know people in the world do dumb things and expect good results from them. So yeah, that I don't know if it's that far off. Although in this world of being able to see things in an infinite spectrum, sure, we could make the claim that, what did he think was going to happen if Dormammu got here? Harry says, I think I have you beat Dave on the age thing. I don't know. Let's have an age fight. Yes. But correct, right? And think about how Doctor Strange won in the end. Dormammu the Ageless, he beats Dormammu when Dormammu tries to kill Doctor Strange, and Doctor Strange just uses the Eye of Agamotto, the time stone, to put locked Dormammu in an infinite time loop that Dormammu could not figure out how to get out of because he couldn't figure out, he had no concept of linear time, right? So again, let's going back to the puzzle, like the Psychonauts game, where it's like puzzling your way out of the conflict. You know, Doctor Strange didn't blast Dormammu into non-existence. He locked him into a infinite time loop. And in that infinite time loop, Doctor Strange was being killed infinitely, you know, and felt those kills. It was just like, what the hell's going on? You know what I mean? So while that's not a normal thing in role-playing games, thinking outside the box that way, I think, is an excellent idea. The one issue you're going to have if you institute that is having an idea of how the players should win and the players not figuring it out. The locked gate theory, where there's one method to end the conflict and the players don't figure it out, and you as a game master and the players just keep getting frustrated by running around in the same circles while they're like, well, how do we figure it out? We'll make a roll. We failed the roll. Oh, well, then yes, you don't figure it out, but then we can't get out of this thing. Well, you have to figure it out. Well, we can't figure it out. Then make a roll. You know what I mean? It just becomes circular logic. So you really got to be prepared to allow the players to think outside the box to solve something if it doesn't quite fit into how you think you want your setting and your encounter to be parceled out. Zevron says that reminds me of Shadow of War, Lord of the Rings game. You will follow our agreement, my daughter's freedom. You know, hands Nazgul the paladin. She is free to die with her people. The Palantir, yes, the medallions or whatever, the gem that held their soul, essentially, that where you remove, they can remove it and they are allowed to age as a mortal would, because that is where their immortality is held, kind of. Yes, and where they didn't have a concept of being aged until they removed it, or maybe they didn't even think about doing that kind of thing, right? Harry says June 17, 1946. Ooh, yeah. I'm 1970, dude. Oh man. Well, I'm glad that you are here. You are an ancient amongst us youngins, and maybe one day I will sit upon the throne of which you warm as we speak. Vince says, I think Doctor Strange did abuse a loophole the GM did not think about. Oh, in terms of like Dormammu being, I'm just going to have Dormammu be a big giant evil. And then Doctor Strange was like, I got a loophole. Hey, how about, wouldn't an immortal, timeless creature not understand what time is? And DM's like, you know what? That's a good idea. Sure. Vince goes on to say, but you can still make it work if you really want to. But then again, he should not be able to control such a powerful artifact to that extent in the first place. Well, yeah. Or maybe as the game master, we should have never given him a powerful artifact like that to begin with. It should never. The artifact shouldn't have existed, but yeah, it's part of the story, so we get it. We get it. But how fun was it? How fun was that scene when time is reversed to rebuild the destruction that was caused, and the I'll say the player characters are fighting and everything is moving backwards, and then cars are flowing backwards, buildings are being rebuilt, people are going from being injured to standing back up again. And how fun was it to see the main characters being pushed and pulled and crushed and sucked into the walls and all that kind of stuff, man. That was kind of cool. Ricker says, you sure had me beat on the age front, that's for sure. Tesla Ranger says, yeah, the Infinity Stones are cosmic loopholes. Yeah, they're the giant MacGuffin of every storytelling thing, right? What do the Infinity Stones do? They do plot. That's what they do. Right? Says like coward. Yeah, exactly, right. Finn says, yeah, that scene was the best part of using the time stone by far. And really, there's no way to do that except I think us talking about Doctor Strange, I think, is a great way for us to say why not change. We don't need to play by the rules. We can just make up our own rules and then play by the rules that we make up ourselves. So you could have, for example, why not have an encounter that's a Groundhog Day encounter? So players go into a fight, players fight bad guy, the big bad evil guy kills the players. When they're all dead, they end up starting, the whole scene starts all over again. And why not play an encounter where that happens and they get killed over and over again until they figure their way out of it? And they're like, wait a minute, guys, hold on. Every time we fight them directly, we get killed. So maybe we should think of a way to not fight them directly and do something different. They're like, yeah, but what is it? And then maybe that's another puzzle to get out of it. We keep reliving the same day over and over again. Zev says, almost just fell down a flight of steps. That was scary. I hope you don't mean that literally, dude. Oh man. So yes, what can we pick from Doctor Strange? First of all, reflavor the hell out of the magic system. Oh wow, oh, so sweet. I didn't know you were on the move. Because I'm sitting here looking at my computer, I automatically, it's my own fault for going, oh, maybe everybody else is doing the same thing. They're not. You guys are on your phone, and I'm pretty sure I can tell when someone is like on their phone because I can see with the spelling. Dead Man brings up Edge of Tomorrow. Terrible, the worst name of a movie. One of the best executed sci-fi Groundhog Day movies ever, right? Terrible name, terrible what was it, promotion for that flick. Most people didn't discover that till afterwards, but exactly. I mean, you could play with that. Why not? Replaying the same thing over and over and over again. And look at that movie. How many different encounters did he have to figure out till he was able to survive? Okay, we're in the drop ship and that gets destroyed, and then I fall down on the beach, and then something falls down on top of me, and then there's a bunch of creatures coming out of the sand, and then there's a helicopter blade kind of thing or something. So yeah. I'm glad you're okay, Zev. 2 seconds. All right, babe. Really? Sweet. And text me if you want me to pick up anything for you. All right, baby. All right, love you. Zephron says, tried to walk out of the house to work. Jackass left their sandals in front of my door and almost fell to the basement. Jesus. Oh, sorry about that, man. Your Pocket GM says, I've used the groundhog cycle thing to give the players a chance to figure something out without freaking out over character death. And see, what perfect, right? Even Eclipse Phase does that. I've played in Eclipse Phase games where if you do the groundhog thing, the shackles are off. You can kill the players any kind of way, as many times as you want. And that's kind of sweet. Vince says, gotta go, guys. See you. It was nice meeting you guys again. Vince, you're always welcome. Thanks for joining us. We're almost get to the end right here anyway. So, but yeah, keep in touch, man. It's all right, dude. You're fam. Rika says later. Everyone says, we talked about Scarlet Witch more in her episode. Scarlet Witch. Yeah, we sure did. Well, remember, we're here to come up with what can we learn? And I think using Doctor Strange in terms of why can't we be strange in our own settings? Using different dimensions. We love Dungeons and Dragons, and we love the going to other planes of existence. So why not make up our own planes of existence? Whether it's when you go to another plane of existence, you're only 3 inches tall, or you go to another plane of existence and it's like an MC Escher thing where you can walk on the walls and ceiling and it's all exactly the same thing. Or you go to another plane of existence and you are literally you are adventuring inside of your own imagination or your own brain stem or something. um you know, that kind of thing. Maybe there's demons inside of your own character's head, and so now you have to travel into the dungeon of your own mind to excise the demons that are you know, causing you guilt or fear or something, which might have been a side effect of the last adventure. You know what I mean? Like those are strange things. Baby. Oh, okay. Zev says, evidently we learned to use Psychonauts and Witcher instead of Doctor Strange. Well, who's to say that, again, who's to say that that's not a great idea either, right? I mean, we're here maybe giving other people ideas, and they go, Psychonauts? Witcher? Mispronouncing high like I keep doing the high you know what I mean? But why not, right? So anyway, guys, thank you for joining me. Next week we're going to go to of course, going back into the Game of Thrones characters and what we can pull from them. Before I get out of here, back into the chat, Deadman the Storyteller says there's a system mechanic for having the PCs going to a destination, and en route they receive a message that they failed a previous attempt. Ooh, I love those ideas. The you get a message from yourself telling yourself not to do something, or to watch out for something, or giving yourself a warning or whatever. I love those concepts. And in a way, it's kind of weird because you could almost, it's like railroading your players and yet embracing the railroad, because your players already know what the railroad is. So it makes sense for themselves to railroad themselves. For example, the players might, you know, one player leaves themselves a note telling themselves, please don't go into the dark forest or the ancient dungeon or whatever the case may be. And then for the players to role play out the scene where they leave themselves a note warning of themselves that they don't, not to go into the dark forest or the you know, the deep dungeon or what have you, right? I mean, but that's cool. I mean, why not play with that? You know, they go into the dungeon, they see dead bodies that are like, you know, from an ancient time, and when they look close, they're like, are they dressed exactly like me? And you're like, yep, they're dressed exactly like you. As a matter of fact, you recognize the medallion around its neck, and you look down at your trinket, and you look at them, and you're like, holy shit! Oh, whoa, we've been here before. And then later on, you see yourself killed recently, like within hours, and you're like, uh-oh, we need to get the hell out of here. And then, of course, as the DM, you kill the players and then have it start all over again. Now, again, you got to think outside the box. You don't want to do that too often and just have your players table flipping like, but this is stupid. We can't figure our way out of it. I'm folding my arms, you know. And of course, in those rewind time, playing the same day over and over again, many of them happened. Time was compressed because in Edge of Tomorrow and in Groundhog Day, they lived through some of those things hundreds, if not thousands, if not tens of thousands of times. You don't want to do that at the table, right? So you might want to compress some of the time and go, okay, guys, we played the opening scene. We're just going to assume you got past the opening scene. So now we're going to get to part 2, right? And then when you then go play through that a couple of times, okay, now we're going to get to part 3, and so on and so forth, right? Call it Spooky Shadow. Yeah, instead of me mispronouncing it all the time. Zevron says, distress call to a ship, you go and it's empty and you are slowly picked off, and you leave a distress signal only for your past selves to pick up a signal. Yeah, I played a one shot in Eclipse phase, and it was sweet. We picked up a distress signal. We find a distress signal. We find the empty habitat. We go into the empty habitat. We find ourselves killed. Before we're killed, we leave a distress signal. Distress signal goes out to a ship. It's us in our ship. We find a distress signal to go to the habitat. It like is this constant cycle over and over again, and I love those things. And Ricker says, and remember, they did get XP for every loop. Right, exactly. Although you could get an a-hole GM that's like, well, you don't remember doing this, so you don't get the XP for it, which I'm just like, F you, dude. Middle finger, whatever. Right? Like, no, you don't. XP doesn't go to the I'm going to say this is controversial before we get out of here. Experience points do not go to your character. Experience points are given to the player. The player then applies them to the character. People who play in games earn experience points. Why? Because if you're in my game, you're there for a reason. You are part and parcel. You experienced the adventure. You gave me energy. I give you energy. The experience points goes to the player. The player applies them to the character. So no, don't screw people over that way. When their character dies and they need to join in, they get to join in with all the experience points and all the levels of the people that are already there. They don't give them a third level character if you're playing level 12. It's stupid. No, they're a level 12 character. Why? Because they play the character up to level 12. They earn the experience. They experience everything in your game. Just let them start out as a level 12 character. Don't do that. Don't you're just shooting yourself in the foot. They get a low level character which they won't enjoy. You have a low level character in your game which you're not going to be able to run an adventure for, and everybody all around is just going to be pissed off and whatever. Don't do that. Don't do that. Harry says, AKA the universe takes this pattern. Yeah. Rickard says, going to steal a time loop for a one shot for sure. Yeah, and especially if you want to introduce a game system to somebody. A time loop game is great, and why not? You can get away with multiple TPKs and just be like, whatever. Why? Yeah, steal it. Hell yeah, steal it. Rickard says, to be fair, time loop is only fun when the characters know it's happening. True. You don't want to spring it on them unless you really know who you're playing with, because if you start killing off players one by one, you might want to bolt the table down before they start rage flipping, right? You know what I mean? Your Pocket GM says, experience points being only an in-game thing. Okay, my character retires and goes to school for 12 years. Yeah. No, for me, experience is experience, like experiencing the world. It's not killing stuff. It's experiencing the world. Hell, I think the game Delta Green. Sorry, my brain farted. In Delta Green, your character increases in skills whenever you fail. So you make a mark next to whenever you fail a skill roll, you put a mark next to the skills that you failed. And if you failed a roll, the next time you play, you get like a bonus on it. You get a +1. Rickard says, I find it more fun when characters know what's coming. Like, damn it, I stepped on that trap again. Here it comes. Yeah. And boom, beheaded, impaled, caught on fire. Players like, damn it. Did I do it again? Sure did. Oh, man. Next time I'm throwing a dwarf. Dwarf's like, you're not going to throw me. Dude, I died 15 times, man. Come on. Let me throw you. All right, fine. Hell, I even think some players might even have fun with that. Like, ooh, how can I die this time? I mean, seriously, if you play a game where you know you're gonna die, like you start the game out and guys say, listen, guys, your character's gonna die, and multiple times you're going to die. You have to figure out how not to die, but you're going to die over and over again. Once you do that and you release that, it's just like, whew, it's like a weight that lifts off of you. And I think that's sweet. There's I played in an L5R one shot where all the player characters, we did a prologue. It was kind of the epilogue, right? But the game started out where we were all dead. We had this big Titanic battle, and we were all samurai, and we all died. And we had to tell the game master how we died in this battle. Did we kill ourselves? Did our enemy kill us? How did we die? And then we played the game, and we as player characters were pushing ourselves to die the way we described we died at the beginning of the game. I really enjoyed that. And that was for L5R. And it was a short little one shot. I mean, essentially it kind of started with like it was a king's court, and then enemies came in. It was the whole thing. But yeah, I played an L5R game where we did that. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for joining me. What can we steal from Doctor Strange? Shit, we don't have to have our hands don't need to be tied when it comes to magic, when it comes to the rules of the setting, when it comes to puzzles. We can steal the hell out of anything. So I will see Monday, where we go over some more Game of Thrones characters. Again, you don't need to even know who the characters are or even like them, but there's many things we can pull from them, just like your pocket GM is like, I don't know a Doctor Strange, but I know a Psychonaut, and that's all you need to know. So don't feel like you need to know any of the background and whatnot. So we of course leading towards April 14th, which is the premiere of the last season of Game of Thrones, and April 26th here in the States, the release of Avengers Endgame. So guys, everyone, thank you very much. And for those who stuck around, or guys, if you don't know me, I'm a contributing writer to Critical Hit Publishing. My little baby is the cinematic environs. We are now converting all of the cinematic environs over to Call of Cthulhu. It is not a literal conversion. They are their own product, but we're using each of those environments to ramp up the horror for Call of Cthulhu. So sells a 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons generally cinematic environs, and we also are starting from the beginning of our cinematic environs for Call of Cthulhu. Of course, they're related more towards the modern era, the 19th century. So yeah. But anyway, guys, everyone have a great one. I will see thee Monday. I got to head off to work.